Mr. Taberkey.
Present.
Mr. Ray Culbertson.
Present.
Mr. Schultmeyer. Present. Mr. Bob Culbertson. Here. Ms. Bettinghouse.
Here.
Ms. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Hausfeld.
Here.
Let the record show that all 7 members are present. At this, what is council's pleasure on the approval of the written minutes of the May 20th council meeting?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bettinghouse.
I make a motion to approve the written minutes of the May 20th council meeting.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
A motion by Ms. Bettinghouse, second by Ms. Hausfeld to approve the written minutes of the May 20th council meeting. Are there any remarks? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right. We'll now move to reports of administrative officials. Mayor Stuchel, you have discussed the zone change for Heritage Hill District.
Yes, correct. Jerry Stoker is assisting me in the process of changing the text of the zoning code for the Heritage Hill District, which since 2011 prohibits retail establishments in that area for other than those that were grandfathered in as non-conforming use. Apparently, there must first be a recommendation that is presented to council from the Planning Commission, and after a public hearing is held by them, once the recommendation is brought forward to council, there will be another public hearing where the proposed recommendation to the text change may be discussed and consider any public comments prior to that final adoption. So basically, there's not anything formal to present tonight until there is an actual formal hearing by the Planning Commission, which has to be put in the newspaper and all of that. This is a little more involved, and compared to the last zoning change that was made when Paul Myers came to council and presented it, this is a whole other more formal process. So I'm going to trust Jerry Stoker that this is the way it's to be done. So it's not going to be quite as timely. We were contacted by a property owner and also an attorney with reference to a particular address on Vine Street that would be prohibited from being utilized as a retail establishment when there are others on either side, based on the actual zoning code. So to prevent people from getting too excited, obviously, as people are aware, the Heritage Hill District, those particular establishments would be more like niche and boutique type shops, not anything like a dollar store on that part of Vine Street. So it wouldn't really change much that's there. Unfortunately, this particular structure that is for sale right now was previously considered as a retail building, but because it was utilized for something else, it was no longer being utilized in the non-conforming use, so they lost the ability now to be able to put a retail establishment in. So Jerry Stoker is drafting the change to the text, which would be presented to you all once it is complete and after the recommendation is done by the Planning Commission. So I just wanted to make you aware of what was happening, because you as council members also may be addressed by the individual that brought this forward and with the concern. So basically, we're following the formal process and allowing it to work its way through, and you'll be given additional information here shortly. And I do have a report, actually. So thank you. Unless any members of council have any questions with reference to the zoning change potentially. Okay. All right, thanks. I'd also like to thank the members of the community who came out to on Memorial Day to honor the veterans from our community who made the ultimate sacrifice. I truly appreciate everyone who helped and participated in the service. We had representation from our service, fire, and police departments, the Eagles, the Historical Society, the Senior Citizens, the Women's Club, Troop 354, and we also had wonderful music that was provided by Smooth Transitions and our bagpiper. Next Wednesday will be the first day for one of our 2 officers that have been extended offers to fill positions of patrol officer with the St. Bernard Police Department. Formal introductions will be made once they are sworn in. And there will be an official swearing-in ceremony here at a council meeting to be announced. I'm also currently working with an attorney to guide us through potential changes to the charter, and I also have a proposal coming from a consultant to do an evaluation of City Hall and our local government that I'll be bringing forward to council for you to give consideration to. The Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee held a meeting to discuss the issues with the short-term rentals, such as Airbnbs, and we're exploring options such as an inspection and permitting process to deal with some of the issues. Lastly, I have some good news. We are adding a concert this summer. On Saturday, July 17th, we'll be having a family night at the pool and a concert in the pavilion from 7 to 11 p.m. Dangerous Jim and the Slims will be entertaining us for the evening. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Auditor, Ms. Brickleg.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Auditor's Office provided the end of May revenue and expense spreadsheets to council and the administration. At the end of May, the village revenues were $4,969,316.38, and the expenses were $4,999,403.23. After last week's payroll, there is only $5,592.77 remaining in the 5001 employee accumulated sick pay. I would like to ask council for an ordinance to provide an additional $70,000 into this line item. We have another employee retiring at the end of this month, and I would like to have some extras in case anybody else retires. I would also like to create the new line item for the Orchard Road project, which was discussed at a previous meeting, and this can be included in the ordinance at the same time. I added a few more things since the last meeting. I provided everybody with Resolution 4, 2021. Basically, the village, thanks to Paul Schuldmeyer and Tom Paul, went out for a grant for a track down at Vine Street Park, and part of the grant was they would like us to pass a resolution before July 1st saying you support that they went out for the grant, and that's what this resolution is about. Are there any questions on that?
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
are we upgrading any of the playground equipment, just the track?
Mr. President,
Mr. Paul.
the track is for this grant. The playgrounds, there's a strong possibility that it'll be covered under COVID money.
Yes, you can use it for parks and recreations to encourage children to go outside and not be inside where there's lots of germs. So that's what we're looking at for that money that we had discussed previously that we don't have yet. It's coming in 2 installments to possibly use that for the playground equipment in all the parks.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
make a motion to have Peggy prepare the ordinance she requested for next council meeting.
A motion by Mr. DeBerke, second by Ms. Pettinghouse, to place an ordinance on the table for $70,000 to be added into 50-1 line item and a new line item for Orchard Street project. Are there any remarks? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
also make a motion to put Resolution 4, 2021 on the table for next council meeting.
I'll second that.
A motion by Mr. DeBerke, second by Ms. Pettinghouse, to place Resolution 4 on the table for next meeting. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
I have one more thing.
Okay.
Okay. And then I also presented council tonight with the mayor's projected budget for 2022, if you want to go over that. And just a reminder that we'll be having a public hearing on the 2022 budget before the June 17th, 2021 council meeting, starting at 7 p.m. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
before we move on the budget, Jonathan said something about a concert coming up, but according to the budget you gave us tonight, there's no money in for concerts.
This is for next year, so I don't know what where he's
Well,
going to pull
I'm
it
talking about the
from for this
2021
year.
budget.
Oh, okay, okay,
There's no money in the line item.
okay.
Do we need to put money in?
Yes, we will need to, we're going to move it around within recreation from what we're doing with the luau, so whether or not it's
I would suggest just doing an additional appropriation.
that would be my request, if that is possible, since we did eliminate the concert line item, to ask for an additional appropriation of $1,500 for that.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
can we just add that to the other ordinance?
Yes, and what I was just thinking when you said that, I would also like to do an additional appropriation, and I'll have to really look at the number and let you know. It's for the luau. We gotta, I think we did 40,000 last year, and then the money comes in, but we have to have it in there to spend. So I'd like to bring that 15,000 probably up to 40, and then we'll make it up in revenue. So I'd like to add that to it. I think we did 40 last time.
President,
Mr. Duberky?
Secretary Brown says add that to the ordinance,
I will. Okay, thank you.
as long as everybody else okay.
I was gonna say,
I mean, we make the money back, but I just needed to buy the beer you're gonna sell, so.
everyone on council okay with that, adding those to those?
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. Ray Culberson?
I have just one question for Jonathan or Peggy for the 2022 budget. There's nothing in the line for accumulated sick time? Is that, or am I misreading? Line 67?
I'm sorry,
Oh.
you're probably looking at the comparison, there was nothing in it to start in '21, so there's 50 in it for 2022.
Oh, it's showing 0 on mine. Employee accumulated sick pay showing 0.
Oh, because you're not looking at the new line item, are you? You have to go to 50-01 in the
Oh,
back.
Okay, yeah. All right, thank you. Yeah. I'm sorry, and one more thing, the drop in healthcare from 1.6 to 1.2.
That is what we usually budget. We're not going to know anything till November. We have a meeting in July, but because we're fully insured, they don't give us any numbers, so I just used the number from previous years. He was discussing healthcare.
Okay.
And we put 1.2 in for the projected budget every year, and I don't have any numbers.
Anyone else? Questions on the budget? Can always circle back. That's it for you?
That's it, so I'll prepare the thing I read every year at the public hearing on that and give this to Hamilton County. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr.
Peggy,
Duberky?
don't we vote on that too?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, you don't vote on that till September, October,
give it
till
back,
they
okay.
approve the rates.
All right. Law Director, Ms. Van Valkenburg.
Thank you. I met last week with the Laws, Contract and Claims Committee. At that time, we heard from a couple who own several properties that they operate under the auspices of Airbnb. We discussed the current zoning picture for St. Bernard, and I explained that the only kind of transient housing which is presently permitted under the code. I will continue to work with the committee on this issue. I do need to go into executive session this evening to discuss a couple of matters of pending litigation, and I would ask that we do that at the end of the meeting.
Mr. President, make a motion, we go into executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss pending litigation.
I'll second that.
Excuse me. A motion by Mr. Duberky, second by Ms. Bettinghouse, to go into an executive session at the end of the meeting. I will call the roll. Mr. Duberky?
Aye.
Mr. Ray Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Bob Culberson? Aye. Ms. Bettinghouse?
Aye.
Ms. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Housefeld?
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. We will go into executive session to discuss pending litigation at the end of the meeting.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That
Good.
concludes my report.
Thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Unger.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening I have the statement from First State Bank for the 4th of July Memorial Fund that we have down the street. The current balance at the end of May, so May 31st, 2021, totals $5,657.98. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Service and Safety Director, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. The landfill quarterly readings are still at 0. This is good. The next step will be to go to semi-annual as soon as we can get EPA approval. I would like to congratulate Ed Kohlmeyer for being promoted to foreman. He and I will build a relationship that will continue the wonderful services the village is accustomed to. I have faith that we will get it done. I would like the following appropriations to be made. Line 208C, that would be City Hall, $30,000. Our fire alarm system has been damaged. The initial diagnosis is lightning or a power surge. The main panel has completely burned out. That being said, our system is over 20 years old, which means parts are hard to find. Total for this project is $21,530.40. Since we are opening up ceiling panels, etc., now would be the time to replace the HVAC-J system. This is the system that allows the heating and cooling adjustments. Our current system runs off the Internet Explorer, which is no longer supported. That quote was $6,000. Appropriate to line 8A2, the safety building. We have multiple plumbing leaks and ceiling tiles that need to be replaced. They also have the old J system there that needs to be replaced. The price is the same. I've already lost control of their HVAC. I can no longer do that. And Peggy already put resolution 4, so that concludes my report.
Mr. President,
Mr. DeBerke.
it's okay with council, we add all those appropriations to,
I'm sorry, I missed the amount for 8A2. Was that,
8A2 would be,
is that 10?
oh, I didn't put it in there.
Okay. I think we just, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure. Okay.
So a motion by Mr. DeBerke to add these two line items to the already approved ordinance for additional appropriations. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. DeBerke, second by Ms. Bettinghouse to add these two line items to the already approved ordinance. Are there any remarks?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmer.
it might not make a difference on how we appropriate it, but is the fire alarm panel something we can ask for our insurance company to possibly cover?
That, I apologize for that too. Yes, we are looking into that because if it is lightning, it may be covered under insurance, which means that I wouldn't need the money. But we still should have it, because he has to order the parts. The parts are 12 grand, so.
All right, anyone else? If not, all those in favor of adding these two line items to the ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Anything else, Mr. Paul?
Well, that concludes my report. Thank you,
While
Mr.
we're under
President.
you, I have had a couple people question me, and I actually went out and saw, I don't know if it's since we've done the streetscape, there are no speed limit signs going north or south between the railroad and the cemetery, either side, and I just,
That, for everyone's information, that is because the street poles are no longer ours, and we're not allowed to hang anything on them. They
Okay.
belong to Duke. And contrary to when I first came on board here, everyone told me that the poles would be ours in 15 years. That is not true. They will never be ours.
how about the ones that have the parking signs for like the parking lots and things like that?
We
those
may
skinnier
be able
ones?
to, that depends on how high we can get them. Speed signs have.
The only reason I
yeah.
say it is because
Yeah.
they say how people fly up and down Vine Street, so I told them I would bring it up, so.
Yep, so, but that's the answer to
Okay.
that, but we will try to look into
Okay.
something for it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President.
Mr. DeBerke.
Now, Tommy, you're in charge of the gas pumps. I've talked to a couple of police officers. They say they're using a lot less gas with the new hybrids. Are we tracking that anyway?
The only way Mr. President, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
So the only way I track it anymore is the amount of gallons being used. So I just go by every 2 weeks we order fuel. So I don't keep track of vehicles any longer. I do believe that stopped with the antiquated system that we had down there also, that was computer-driven, and that program was only compatible with XP. So once the XP machine crashed, we lost cameras and we lost the ability to monitor gasoline, so.
Okay. Tax Commissioner, is there a report from the Tax Commissioner / Administrator?
I don't, she did not give me an official report, but we were talking today, and she was hopefully going to say this. I guess she's getting questions on her reports and when they're going to be done. I know she's finishing up all the taxes and trying to get that done, but what I had said to her is, the main number I think council needs is the revenue to know how much. So I said that, even though she'll give a report telling you how many are individual, how many are corporate, the main number that I would think you need is in my revenue report. So whatever's in there is that will not change for the month. So if you're looking to know how much it brought in, the numbers are in there for May already. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. DeBerke.
No report.
Thank you. Safety, Mr. Ray Culbertson.
Thanks, Mr. President. Another reminder that the next Block Watch meeting will be on Thursday, June 24th at 6:30 p.m., and that will take place at the main level of the municipal building. And I, too, would like to congratulate Ed Kohlmeyer on his promotion. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Service, Mr. Schultmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've got the Service Department report for May 2021. The Service Department placed 34 trucks at residences, 23 dumpsters at residences, 402 special pickups at residences, 215 tons of garbage taken to the landfill. Recycling, we had 35.41 tons of recycling material, 40 pounds of scrap aluminum, 2.7 pounds of copper, 2,020 pounds of scrap metal. In addition, I have a letter from Hamilton County Recycling and Solid Waste District. The Village of St. Bernard diverted 421.15 tons and achieved a 15.67% diversion rate for 2020. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Public Improvements, Mr. Bob Culbertson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just an update from the St. Bernard CIC. This week, we did end up closing on the First State Bank down at the square. So the CIC did acquire that property this week. The next CIC meeting is June, I think it's 22nd at 6 p.m. in Council's chambers. I'm sorry, we just moved that to actually next Tuesday, right? Or did we just cancel it? Last Tuesday of the month. So, last Tuesday of the month, which would be the 28th, 27th? Here, I could look it up. 29th. There you go. 29th at 6 p.m. That concludes my report.
Mr. President?
Or-
I was also supposed to say that St. Bernard received a check for that 421.15 tons of material for $8,447.85, and that actually concludes.
All right. Thank you. Laws, Contracts, and Claims, Ms. Fettinghouse.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the mayor and law director already stated, the Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee did meet last week to just discuss about the rentals and mostly for Airbnb, which it was relative to. Very good discussion. I will have a report that I will give next week to go into the minutes for council. But basically what they both said was a summary of what we discussed. The other thing that I would like to just ask and talk about is I had said to council that you had an opportunity to either get a hard copy of the unlawful discrimination ordinance or to prohibit unlawful discrimination ordinance that we have been working on in our Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee. It was also out there on the web. And if anybody had an opportunity, it's very long, to read through it, have any questions and concerns, relatively this is basically why we went through this, is there are persons with different sexual orientation or gender identity or expression who are classes of persons who are currently not explicitly and fully protected under existing Ohio or federal anti-discrimination laws. So that was the purpose of putting this together. We've had many meetings, as many of you know, especially the ones that have been on the committee, a lot of input from a variety of people, which I thank everybody for. But I just wanted to know if, again, anybody had an opportunity to read through this, have questions, or if you would like to discuss it at another meeting, different meeting, because you didn't have time to really read through it. I am not the proficient one at answering all your questions. Valerie is here to help. So anybody have anything they would like to bring up? I will say we are still planning on having a town hall meeting. That the date for that has not been determined yet. And when that happens, everybody will know there'll be postcards that go out. It'll be through the internet as well as in-person audience. We don't have limitation right now, so we thought we were going to have to split into a couple rooms. So we still are planning on having that sometime in July. And we really want to do that in order to hear from the citizens for their questions and concerns that they might have relative to this. And then from there, it'll go back to committee, and basically there will be a recommendation that comes forward to this council for vote, and there'll be three options. It'll be to either go ahead and vote on the ordinance as it is. It'll be that we wanted to put it out for vote to the citizens, or a resolution. And it won't be an ordinance form, it'll be a resolution that we do support, or we are a village that prohibits unlawful discrimination. And that'll be the three options out there. But we really do want to hear from the citizens and from all the rest of council who may not have been able to attend these meetings. So I'm going to leave it open there if you have any questions. And Valerie will answer them.
Mr. President,
Mr.
Yes.
DeBerke.
I guess my only question is the difference between the resolution and ordinance. What would be the difference in the verbiage? Is exact same thing?
In the resolution, now, make sure I'm right, it's a support of us having a village that we are non-discriminatory. But we don't have, they can't come to us and say in an, or like this ordinance, that I've been discriminated against for, say, a rental, not rent to me. And that we would take it upon ourselves. In here, it has that we have a commission that would have like an, I don't want to say a hearing, because it would be basically bringing the two parties together to try to negotiate. So there wouldn't have to be any litigation, that they would have to move that forward. So it's really a statement as a resolution, Don. It really doesn't have that they could come and have any kind of litigation or that piece for the city, is my understanding. Am I correct?
It's, Mr. President,
Sam Alcorn.
it's more a statement of principle as opposed to providing a mechanism for enforcement, which is what the ordinance does provide in its current state.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Bettinghouse?
No, that's all I have. So is council wanting then us to move forward with the town hall meeting, because we are, and then if you have any additional questions at any other time, you can bring it back here to the floor at any point in time, or from that town hall, the committee will meet and then we'll bring the recommendation forward for what the recommendation is, and then council will vote on that. Does that sound appropriate? Okay. That is all then.
All right, thank you very much. Marketing, Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. The St. Bernard Ludlow Grove Historical Society does have a program announcement. They are having a program on June 21st at 7 p.m. at the St. Bernard Municipal Building, the main level, entrance on 120 Tower Avenue. So that's great that they are back in motion again. I also have some recreation updates. First, the bricks are available for $100 each to have personalized and have placed at Frank Robinson Field. If you are interested, please contact Recreation by next Friday. That is when they're putting another order in. We are all overly excited about the second annual luau that will take place this year in August. We are working on a social media platform that will go live next week. We will post updates for the event through social media. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Business and industry, Ms. Hassel.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. This time, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council this evening? If not, before council goes into executive session, I show one ordinance and one resolution next week. The ordinance additional appropriation and adding the line item for the Orchard Street project, and the resolution to apply for the grant from Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Next council meeting will be next Thursday at 7 p.m. and we will begin with the public hearing on the budget by Ms. Brickway. At this time, council will go into executive session and we will be back shortly, hopefully. All right, council is back from executive session where we discussed pending litigation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberkey,
I make a motion, we accept the settlement for the pending litigation.
motion by Mr. Taberkey, seconded by Ms. Bettinghouse to approve the pending litigation settlement for settlements. And are there any remarks?
Mr. President,
Mr. Taberkey?
do we need to identify them on public? No? Okay.
Any other remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We already gave the other information, so at this time I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr.
before we
Taberkey.
adjourn, just a reminder, September 9th council meeting, or committee of the whole, I will not be here. For anybody else who want to change that date, it's Raymond's getting married on the 11th, so we got.
We'll visit that. Okay. All right, I still need a motion to adjourn, though.
Mr. President,
Mr. Bob Culberson.
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
A motion by Mr. Bob Culberson, second by Mr. Ray Culberson to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? So ordered. We are adjourned.